The primary xylem will also be present, but it is inconspicuous. That is, it may be more or less intact, not having a definite shape, and also it will be present somewhere at the center. Spring wood is usually formed during the spring season, and the autumn wood is usually formed during the autumn season. The secondary cortex is called as the phelloderm, and the cork is called as the phellem. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to the last session on the chapter 6, that is Anatomy of Flowering Plants. I am Dr. Divya, Biology faculty, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysore, Temple of Excellence. In the previous session, we had discussed about the dicotyledonous leaf, that is the dorsiventral leaf, and the monocotyledonous leaf, that is the isobilateral leaf. And I told you how you can distinguish or differentiate between the dicot leaf and the monocot leaf. In today's session, we shall study about the secondary growth. So far that we had studied in the previous sessions were about the primary growth. So today we shall see what vascular cambium is, what is the function of the vascular cambium, and how we can differentiate between different regions in a stem based on the vascular bundles. So we shall start with what the secondary growth is. So secondary growth always leads to the increase in girth of the stem. So what is this girth? It is nothing but, say for example, a plant, when it is young, it will have a very small stem, but as it ages, the size of the stem increases. So the small stem, it increases in its size. So that particular increase in the size is called as girth. So therefore, secondary growth is nothing but increase in the girth of the plant or the stem. The primary growth leads to elongation of the stem and elongation of the root, but the secondary growth leads to the increase in the size of the stem. So there are certain tissues that are involved which brings about this particular secondary growth. So they are the two lateral meristems, which are the vascular cambium and cork cambium. So why are they called the meristems? Because meristems are those cells which are actively dividing. So meristematic cells not only help in increasing the length of the plant, but also it helps in increasing the girth of the plant, especially in the case of stem. So that increase in the girth is brought by two lateral meristems. Why is it called lateral meristem? Because it is present at the sides, at the lateral portion. So those meristems, and the ones which bring about the primary growth or primary growth is present in the apical meristem, that is the shoot apical meristem, the root apical meristem, and all those. But when it comes to the growth of the, that is this increase in the size of the stem or increase in the girth, it is the lateral meristem that actually helps, such as the vascular cambium and the cork cambium. So in today's session, we shall concentrate on what is this vascular cambium and cork cambium. So first, moving on to the vascular cambium. So the vascular cambium, it is a meristematic layer. Why is it a meristematic layer? Because it is the layer of cells that is present at the lateral sides, and they are meristematic cells, that is they have actively dividing cells. So it is meristematic layer, and this is the one which actually cuts the vascular tissues, that is the xylem and the phloem. So how does it cut? So if you remember in the previous session, we had, while studying about the vascular bundles, I had told about the conjoint vascular bundle, that is the conjoint open vascular bundle, the conjoint closed vascular bundle, and all those. So what happens if it is a open vascular bundle? There is the cambium present between the xylem and the phloem. So similarly here, that cambium that is present between the xylem and the phloem. So what is xylem and phloem? It is the vascular tissues or the vascular bundle. So therefore, that cambium which is present between the food conducting tissue, that is the phloem, and the water conducting tissue, that is the xylem, is called as the vascular cambium. So this vascular cambium, it actually cuts the two vascular bundles. So if you remember, you'll know that I had shown you wherein if this is the presence of the phloem cells and this is the presence of the xylem cells, in between the phloem and the xylem, which are the vascular tissues, there is a layer of cells which is called as the cambium. So this cambium is nothing but the vascular cambium. So this vascular cambium actually cuts between the xylem and the phloem. It forms a boundary, or it forms a break, or it forms a cut between the phloem and the xylem tissue. So such cambial cells are called as the vascular cambium because it is present between the vascular tissues or the vascular bundle. So in young stems, usually the vascular cambium is not completely formed and it is in patches. But as the stem matures, as it grows old, or when it reaches maturity, the vascular cambium, it becomes a single layer between the xylem and the phloem. So earlier, when the stem is still growing or it is in the young stage, they are usually not like a continuous structure, but usually they are in bits and pieces here and there. But later on, they form a complete structure, which is the vascular cambium, as the cells mature. So at the maturity, they actually form a single layer between the xylem and the phloem, and therefore later on it forms a complete ring. So this later on it forms a complete ring between the xylem and the phloem. So this is about the vascular cambium. So as you can see here, there is the phloem cells and the xylem cells being present. In between there is a layer of cells which is nothing but the vascular cambium that forms a cut between the phloem and the xylem. So how does this particular cambial ring form? So far we learned that there is something called as the vascular cambium that divides between the phloem and the xylem. So how is this cambial ring formed? Usually cambial ring is seen in dicot stems. And why it is seen in stems? Because stems usually increase in their size or increase in their girth, right? From a very small sized plant stem, it becomes to a bigger size. So therefore, in dicot stems, the cells of the cambium, they will form between the primary xylem and the primary phloem, and later on they will form a complete cambial ring. And the activity of the cambial ring will also support the xylem and the phloem. So next, moving on to the formation of the cambial ring. So the formation of the cambial ring, actually the cambial ring is of two types, that is intrafascicular cambium and interfascicular cambium. So what is intra? Intrafascicular cambium means present in between. So where is it present? It is present in between the primary xylem and the primary phloem in dicot stems. So you all have learned. So what is the cambial ring? It is a layer of cells that is formed between the xylem and the phloem, or the phloem and the xylem. So in that formation of the cambial ring, there is two types of cambial rings that are formed. One is intrafascicular cambium and the other one is the interfascicular cambium. So the intrafascicular cambium is a kind of cambial layer wherein the cambial cells are actually formed between the primary xylem and the primary phloem in the case of dicot stem. So if you can see here, there is the primary phloem being present, and then we have the primary xylem. So in between the primary phloem and the primary xylem, there is a layer of cells that is formed, or a layer of cambial cells that is formed, and such an arrangement is called as intrafascicular. It is forming in between the tissues itself, that is intrafascicular, in between the xylem and the phloem. So therefore it is intrafascicular cambium. So next, moving on to interfascicular cambium. Here it is formed between the vascular bundles as a whole. So I hope you understand it. I'll just draw and show it even more clearly. So now we have here the phloem, then the xylem. So if the vascular bundle is formed intra, that is between the cells, if it is formed between the cells or between the tissue, what is the tissue here? The food conducting tissue, that is the phloem, and the water conducting tissue, that is the xylem. So if it is formed between these two, then it will be called as the intrafascicular cambium. On the other hand, say for example, in the plant, you know that is there only one xylem tissue present and one phloem tissue present, or as a whole is there only one vascular bundle tissue present? No, the vascular bundles are usually arranged in a form of ring in the case of stems, that is in dicot stems, right? But in monocot stem, what did I tell you? They are haphazardly arranged, that is they are scattered here and there. There is no a complete formation of the ring as such. So here, say if, there are two different, say for example, there is one more vascular bundle here wherein the phloem, then the xylem and the intrafascicular cambium being formed. Now, if the intrafascicular cambium extends between these two, then it will become the interfascicular cambium. So, those cambial cells that are formed between two vascular bundles, that is the cells of the medullary rays adjoining the intrafascicular cambium. So, remember, in dicot stem, between the vascular bundles, the medullary rays are formed, right? So, what is the medullary rays made up of? It is usually made up of the parenchyma cells. So, those medullary rays which joins the two vascular bundles are nothing but consists of the cells of the cambial cells, which is nothing but the interfascicular cambium, or in easy words I can say the cambial cells that forms a connectivity between the two vascular bundles. So again here one vascular bundle, the that is the intrafascicular cambium would have already been formed, and these again the extension of the cambial ring, this will be interfascicular cambium. So in between the vascular bundles, if it is in between xylem and phloem, then it is intrafascicular. If it is between the two vascular bundles, then it is interfascicular cambium. So they actually adjoining these are called as the intrafascicular cambium, and later on they become meristematic and then they form the interfascicular cambium. So these intrafascicular cambium, they become meristematic, means they become actively dividing cells, and then they give rise to the formation of the interfascicular cambium. So first, the medullary rays form into the few of the cells of the medullary rays form into the intrafascicular cambium. Those intrafascicular cambium cells becomes meristematic, that is they become actively dividing, and they divide and then they lead to the formation of the intrafascicular cambium. So therefore a continuous ring of cambium is formed now. So you can see here a continuous cambial ring is formed. So this particular arrangement or formation of the cambial cells or the cambial ring is called as the interfascicular cambium. So this is about the intrafascicular and the interfascicular cambium. So thus a continuous ring of cambium is being formed. So this is how the formation of the cambial ring actually occurs. So next, moving on to the activity of the cambial ring. So the cambial ring becomes active. So once the formation of the cambial ring is done, or the cambial cells are done, the cambial ring, it becomes active and it begins to cut off the new cells both towards the inner and the outer side. So here you can see it cuts the two cells between the inner and the outer side. So here we have the formation of the cambial ring. So once the complete formation of the cambial ring occurs, it differentiates between the two cells, that is the inner cells and the outer cells. So it cuts off new cells both towards the inner side and the outer side. So the cells that are cut off towards the pith mature to form the secondary xylem. So remember what happened here? Here there is formation of the interfascicular cambium. So the intrafascicular cambium will be first formed from the medullary rays. That intrafascicular cambium cells will become meristematic, that is they will become actively dividing. Those actively dividing cells will form the interfascicular cambium. Now we have a complete set of the cambial ring. So once the complete set of the cambial ring forms, what happens? The xylem is towards the center and the phloem will be towards the periphery, right? Towards this, all these are the xylem. So therefore the xylem will be towards the center and the phloem will be always towards the periphery. So there is a cut being formed between the xylem and, or there is a border being formed between the xylem and the phloem. So the cells that cut towards the pith. So towards the pith, what is there? Xylem is there, right? So this is the pith. So the central part is always the pith. So towards the pith, or here you can see it is the pith. So towards the pith always xylem will be present. Away from the pith the phloem will be present, or towards the periphery the phloem will be present. Periphery is the side. So towards the periphery the phloem will be present. So when the cells are cut off towards the pith, whatever cells are there, that is the xylem cells or the primary xylem cells, they will mature into secondary xylem. So that is how the secondary growth starts. So they will mature into secondary xylem. So when the secondary xylems keep on forming, more number of cells get added. So therefore when the cells get added, what happens? The size of the plant material or the size of the stem will obviously increase. That is the concept behind this. So the cells cuts off towards the pith and they mature into the secondary xylem, and the cells that cuts off towards the periphery, that is the phloem, primary phloem cells will get matured into the secondary phloem. So therefore the cambium is actually more active than the in the inner side than the outer side. That is, always remember, the cambial is more active towards the xylem cells. Therefore the formation of the xylem cells is more when compared to that of the phloem cells. This is one important factor that you need to remember in the case of secondary growth. So what happens here? As I told you, the cells will be cut off. So here what happens? So we have the secondary xylem being formed and the secondary phloem. So the xylem is always faced towards the pith, and the phloem is always faced towards the periphery. So here from the primary xylem, it will get converted into the secondary xylem, and the primary phloem will get converted into the secondary phloem. So after this, here what happens here? Mostly the increase of the girth is mainly because, or increase in the size of the stem is mainly because of the xylem, because the cambium cells always concentrates more on xylem tissue rather than the phloem. So therefore the increase in the number of xylem cells is more than that of the phloem. So as a result, the amount of secondary xylem that is produced is more when compared to the amount of secondary phloem, and therefore once the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem is formed, it forms a compact mass. So that particular formation of the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem is the secondary growth in a plant. So after the primary growth, so until the formation of the xylem and the phloem, it is the primary growth. So once the primary xylem forms the secondary xylem and the primary phloem forms the secondary phloem, it is nothing but the secondary growth. So next, after that, the activity of the cambial ring. So now the primary and the secondary xylem as well as the phloems are being formed. So the primary and the secondary phloem, it actually gets crushed. Why it gets crushed? It's because now I told you the cambial ring actually concentrates more towards the xylem cells. Therefore, the xylem formation of the xylem cells is more, or the formation of the secondary xylem is more when compared to the secondary phloem. So, as the secondary xylem cells increases in number, there is no place for the secondary phloem cells. Therefore, the secondary phloem cells gets crushed. It gets crushed, and therefore it will lead to the formation and accumulation of the secondary xylem. Why it gets crushed? Making space for the secondary xylem. Why? Because the secondary xylem is forming actively because of the cambial cells. So therefore the primary phloem gets crushed or it gets disintegrated, making space for the secondary xylem, and those region will also get filled with the secondary xylem. So therefore the primary xylem, it remains more or less intact in and around the center. The primary xylem, once the secondary xylem is formed, the primary xylem will also be present, but it is inconspicuous. That is, it may be more or less intact, not having a definite shape, and also it will be present somewhere at the center, that is somewhere at the center. So as we can see, the interfascicular cambium is formed. So we have the complete cell. I can explain to you again. The outer layer of the plant cell, which is covered by the epidermis. Then comes the cortex. So the cortex, in the case of dicot stem, it contains parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, which we have studied in the previous session. Then comes the primary phloem, and then comes the vascular cambium or the intrafascicular cambium, and then we have the primary xylem. Now what is happening? The intrafascicular cambium and the interfascicular cambium all is being produced. It is ready. After that, I told you the cambial cells always concentrates more on the xylem. So therefore, it gives more importance to the xylem elements or the primary xylem. Therefore, the primary xylem keeps on dividing and it forms the secondary xylem. Therefore, the formation of the secondary xylem is more when compared to the secondary phloem. So, the secondary phloem that is formed is not able to keep in pace with the secondary xylem. Therefore, what happens? Because of the increase in the number of secondary xylem cells, it will start to crush the phloem cells because it requires more space, because it is filling in fast. So, that is why. So, once what happens here is, now the primary xylem, it remains towards the pith, and this all the other place is occupied by the secondary xylem. So, the primary xylem is there because why the cells will be there? Because those are the cells that keep forms the secondary xylem, right? So, the primary xylem starts to get concentrated towards the pith region, and surrounding the secondary primary xylem will be the secondary xylem, and likewise surrounding it will, the secondary phloem will also be present, but the primary phloem would have been completely crushed because of the formation of the active formation of the secondary xylem. So, this is what actually forms in the case of the cambial ring. So, this is the activity of the cambial ring or the function of the cambial ring. What is the function of the cambial ring? To produce the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem. So, here, so at some places what happens, the cambium, it forms a narrow band of parenchyma which passes through the secondary xylem. So remember, we had studied about the medullary rays and all that, right? So here what happens, at some places the cambium, it forms a narrow band. So you can see here, this cambial ring, actually it forms a narrow band between the primary that is, it passes through the secondary xylem and through the secondary phloem in radial direction, and these are called as the secondary medullary rays. While studying about the primary growth, we had studied about the xylem, primary xylem, the primary phloem and the medullary rays formed between the vascular bundles, right? But in this case, what happens when the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem is forming, one more activity is taking place by the cambial ring. What is that? The formation of the secondary medullary rays. So, where is the secondary medullary rays formed? It is formed between the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem. So, a ray of parenchymatous cells, so this particular portion, a ray of parenchymatous cells will be formed between the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem, and it looks like sun rays. It looks like a radial arrangement, therefore it is called as the medullary ray. So, this is the activity of the cambial ring to form the secondary phloem, the secondary xylem as well as the medullary rays. So, next we shall see what the spring wood and autumn wood are. So, spring wood are usually formed during the spring season, as the name itself suggests, and the autumn wood is usually formed during the autumn season. And in the spring wood, the cambium is very active and it produces a large number of xylary elements. First of all, why a large number of xylary elements? Because in the previous slides, I had explained what is the function of the cambial ring to produce the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem, right? And among these, the secondary xylem is the one which produces in larger number. So, therefore, the cambium here in the case of spring wood produces a large number of the secondary xylem elements. So, what are the xylem elements? In the previous session we have studied, they are nothing but the vessels, the tracheids, the xylem fibers and the xylem parenchyma. So, here all these are being produced, and also the vessels, they have wider cavities. So, the xylem vessels are of wider cavities. They are very wide and they are of wider cavities. But when we talk about the autumn wood, the cambium is very less active and it forms very few xylem elements. Therefore, the xylem vessels are very narrow. So, what happens in spring wood? The cambium is very active, but in the case of autumn wood, the cambium is quite less active. It is less active when compared to the spring wood. So that is why here the xylem elements such as the vessels, the tracheids, the xylem parenchyma and the xylem fibers, they are formed less in number, and especially when we talk about the vessels are very narrow when compared to that of the spring wood. The spring wood had broader vessels, right? But the autumn wood has very narrow vessels because the cambium is less active in this particular case. And when talking about the color, the spring wood are lighter in color and the autumn wood are usually darker in color. So I told you, when a huge tree is cut, if you just see the girth or inside a region, you can find circles which is dark and light in color. That is nothing but based on at what time you can say, like if say for example, we have spring season and autumn season. So in spring season, you can see, okay, this tree, if it has, say for example, if it has, I told you spring wood means the development of the plant in the spring season and the development of the plant in the autumn season. So here, say for example, the plant was there for about 10 spring seasons. So how many light color circles will be formed? 10 light color circles. If it was there for 20 autumn seasons, or say for 10 autumn seasons, how many light color will be formed? Again 10 light colors, because autumn and spring, they come and go every year, right? So few of the months will be spring, few of the months will be autumn. So therefore, by counting the number of rings, we can say the age of the tree. This age has been there for 10 years. Why? I told you there are 10 light color rings and 10 dark color rings. So therefore, the tree has been living for 10 years. Its age is 10 years. So like that we can count. So you can see here, we have light color. So here the light color, that is the spring wood is being present, and the dark color which we can see here, that is the. So why it is very thin? Because here few xylem elements are present, because the cambium is not that active, that is why. But here it is broader, the spring wood is broader, that is light in color and broader, because more xylem elements are present and the vessels are broader, that is why. So here we have next the autumn wood. So autumn wood are usually darker in color, and now by counting how many rings are being formed, it is easy to count the dark ring, right? So counting the number of rings that are being formed, the age of the tree can be guessed. So this is one of the important characters, or one of the fascinating features of the spring wood and the autumn wood. And they have lower density, that is autumn spring woods, they have the less weight, lower density, whereas the autumn woods have higher weight. That is, the higher the number of the darker rings, the weight of the tree is more. So that is how it is considered. They have higher density. So again, in spring woods, there are two kinds of woods that appear alternate. So how these, not in spring woods, but in general, the spring woods and the autumn woods, how can you differentiate them? Because they appear in layers. That is, there will be a layer of dark layer, there will be light layer, dark layer, light layer, just like this. So dark, light, like that, there will be an arrangement. So therefore, they constitute an annual ring. So such arrangement is called as annual ring. Annual ring, why? Because every year it is formed. So every year there will be a spring season, every year there will be a autumn season. So therefore it is an annual ring. By counting the number of annual rings, the age of a tree can be determined. So annual rings which are seen in a cut stem, it actually gives the estimation of the age of the tree. How long, what is the age, how many years old the tree is. So this is one important feature of the spring wood and the autumn wood. So what are the spring wood and the autumn wood? They are nothing but the xylem elements, are differentiated in color based on the activity of the cambial ring. So next, there are two more kinds of wood that are being present. It is called as the heartwood and the sapwood. So heartwood, a greater part of the secondary xylem is dark brown. So greater part of the secondary xylem is dark brown. Why? Because there is deposition. So any plant, if we take in general, they'll have certain chemical compounds present in them. So these chemical compounds actually provides protection to the plants. So heartwoods are nothing but those parts of the stem or those regions in the stem which have a large number of secondary xylem which is dark brown in color. Why is it dark brown in color? It is because of the deposition of organic compounds such as the tannins, the resins, oils, gums, aromatic substances, etc. Eucalyptus bark is also aromatic, right? It has aromatic substances which is nothing but, not just that, they also produce some trees. If you make a small cut, a sticky substance will start oozing out of it or coming out of it. That is nothing but resins, and also oils. All these are produced by the secondary xylem. That is why wherever the secondary xylem is developed, that is the dark region in the stem, it is nothing. That is when you cut a stem, if you see the dark region, it is nothing but the secondary xylem. Why is it dark? So something has to result in the dark pigmentation. Why? Because in that particular region, a lot of chemical compounds or organic compounds such as the tannins, the resins, the oils, gums and aromatic substances and also certain essential oils, all are present there. That is why it has a darker color, and that is, it occurs usually in the central or innermost layer of the stem. So as you can see here, all these are dark in color, therefore it is called as the heartwood. So why is it dark in color? It is not seen in all the species of plants, but it is seen in those species of plants which have all these organic compounds in abundance. So you have the heartwood. This heartwood, more amount of xylem element or secondary xylem is present in this region, it is more, and therefore it is dark in color. It is not because of the presence of excess of xylem elements it is dark in color, but secondary xylem is present in this particular region, but it is darker in color because of the presence of the organic compounds whichever I have mentioned here. Next, when talking about the sapwood, here also secondary xylem is present, but it is lighter in color. Why? Because in that particular region, all these organic compounds are not produced, or it is produced in minimal or negligible amounts. That is why. So this is the sapwood. Sapwood. So based on the presence of the annual rings, we learnt about the springwood and the autumnwood. Now, based on the secretion of the organic compounds and the presence of the secondary xylem, there are two types, that is the dark color region which is present at the center called as the heartwood, and the light color region which is present at the periphery which is called as the sapwood. Next, the heartwood is mainly made up of dead elements which is having highly lignified walls. They contain a lot of sclerenchyma or dead elements which their walls there is deposition of lignin. Therefore, it is called as lignified walls, and these heartwood, they do not usually conduct water, but it actually gives mechanical support. So water will be conducted by the primary xylem, but those secondary xylems that are present at the center of this region, you also, along with that, there is a lot of dead cells, that is sclerenchyma cells having lignified walls present. And I told you sclerenchyma, their main function is to provide mechanical support to the plant. So therefore, those dead cells, because majority of the cells that are present is dead or sclerenchymatous, or in other terms, they do not conduct water, but they provide mechanical support to the stem. So next, moving on to the sapwood. Sapwood is all involved in the conduction of water. Why? Because here xylem is present more in number, and also the presence of the dead material is less. Therefore, it is involved in the conduction of water and minerals from the root to the leaf. So, this portion actually gives mechanical support to the plant, but this portion actually helps in the conduction or transport of water from the root to the leaf through the xylem to different parts of the plant body. So, this is the function of the sapwood. So next, moving on to the cork cambium. I told you secondary growth is possible because of the vascular cambium and the cork cambium. So we finished studying with the vascular cambium. So moving on to the cork cambium. So cork cambium is also called as phloem. So cork cambium usually develops in the cortex region. So what is the cortex? In the case of a stem, in the stem, the parenchyma, collenchyma and the sclerenchyma region is nothing but the cortex region, or that region present between the epidermis and the endodermis is the cortex region. So therefore, the cork cambium usually develops in the cortex region and it is a couple of layers thick. Remember, vascular cambium was only one layer of cells, but the cork cambium is multiple layered and it is therefore thick. It is couple of layers thick and it is made up of narrow, thin walled and nearly rectangular cells are being present. That is, it is made up of narrow, very thin walled rectangular cells. And this cork cambium, it cuts off the cells on both the sides. So here it cuts off the cells on both the sides because there the cork cambium would only cut off the cells between the phloem and the xylem. But here vascular cambium used to cut off the cells between the xylem and the phloem. But the cork cambium cuts off the cells in the cortex region, that is on both the sides. Here the outer cells of the cork cambium differentiates into cork or the phellum. So you can see here this whole thing is the cork cambium. So this is the cork, that is the so we have the epidermal layer, that is the outer layer. So after that comes the cork layer. So the cork layer actually it cuts the cells into the periderm and the cork cambium. So the cork layer gets formed into a periderm and the cork layer. So the outer cells of the cork cambium, once it cuts, it forms into the cork or the phellum. So here it forms the cork or the phellum. Once it forms the cork or the phellum, the inner cells, it differentiates into the secondary cortex or the phelloderm. So therefore, what is the activity of the cork cambium or the phellogen? It cuts off the cells in the cortex on both the sides and it gets differentiated into the phellum and the phelloderm. So the secondary cortex is called as the phelloderm and the cork is called as the phellum. So the inner cells, they get differentiated into secondary cortex or the phelloderm. So therefore, the function of the cork cambium is to cut off the cortex cells on both the sides and therefore leading to the formation of the wherein one side. So if the cells, say for example, if the cells are cut on both the sides, one cell or the outer cells, the cells facing towards the outer side, it will differentiate into the cork or the phellum, and the cells facing towards the inner side will form the secondary cortex or the phelloderm. So this particular secondary cortex or the phelloderm, it is impervious to water, means it is hydrophobic. It will not allow the entry of water into the plant cell or into the stem. So why it doesn't allow the entry of water? Because there is suberin deposition in the cell wall. So the cortex or the phelloderm, so remember I had told you in the cortex what is there? Collenchyma, and collenchyma is one of the cells of the cortex. So in collenchyma, remember I had told you there is no intercellular spaces. Why no intercellular spaces? Because they have thickening at the end and the cell walls are deposited with suberin. So here what happens here is because of that there is these phelloderm. So how did the phelloderm form? It is because of the inner cells which were cut by the cortex got differentiated or cut by the cork cambium got differentiated into the cortex or the phelloderm. So in the cortex what is there? The cortex cells, that is the parenchyma, sclerenchyma, collenchyma and all are there. And few of the cells in that particular region, that is especially the collenchyma, they have the suberin deposition. Because of the suberin deposition, what happens? It will not allow the water to enter into it. It becomes impermeable or it becomes impervious to water. It will not allow the water to enter into the, because in the cell wall of these cells, that is in the cell wall of the cortex or the secondary cortex or the phelloderm, there is presence of suberin which will not allow the water to enter into, and the cells of the secondary cortex are also parenchymatous. So apart from this, the cells are parenchymatous, and together, that is the phellogen, the phellum and the phelloderm together are known as the periderm. So therefore, the cork cambium leads to the formation of the periderm. So you can see here the cork cambium, the cork, all these, the phellogen, which is nothing but the cork cambium, the phellogen, the phellum and the phelloderm together is called as the periderm. So this is nothing but about the cork. So apart from that, there is also formation of the bark, which we will study later. So this is the function of the cork cambium. So the main function of the cork cambium is to resulting in the formation of the periderm. So in one word it is understood, periderm is nothing but resulting in the formation of the phelloderm, the phellum and the phellogen. So this is the function of the cork cambium. So next, moving on to the last part, that is the bark. So due to the, also it helps in the formation of the bark. So due to the activity of the cork cambium, what happens? A pressure will start building up between the layers of the cells in the cortex region. So when a pressure starts building up, that is in the phellogen or the cortex region, what happens here is it will break the cells. So those cells which are broken will actually start to peel off from the cortex region. So such cells are nothing but called as the bark. So you can clearly see here, these are all these peeled off dry hard cells that are seen, that is nothing but the bark. So what is a bark? Bark is actually developed due to the activity of the cork cambium, and because of this, as the pressure develops, because there is a number of secondary cortex that is being formed. As the secondary cortex forms, what happens? Because of the pressure, the layers, that is the layers of the cells that are present towards the periphery, they will actually start to break off and they will start to peel off from that particular region. So all the tissues that are exterior to the vascular cambium, including the secondary phloem, they all form the bark. So the secondary xylem, the secondary phloem, all these things apart from the which are exterior to the vascular cambium. So interior to the vascular cambium was the primary xylem and all that, pith and all that. But the other ones which are exterior to the vascular cambium, all those will result in the formation of the bark. So after the primary growth, the last stage is the secondary growth, wherein the formation of the bark will occur because of the activity or the pressure created by the dividing cambial cells, or the pressure created due to the activity of the cork cambium. So therefore, depending on the type of bark that is formed, there is early bark, or it is also called as soft bark, and there is late bark, which is also called as the hard bark. So the early bark or the soft bark is usually formed during the early seasons, and it is formed towards the end of the season. So this is the two types of bark. So early barks are usually soft. Why? Because they have just started their formation in the early season. But as the season passes, what happens at the end of the season, the soft barks will mature further and it will become hard, and then they will form the hard bark. So this is about the secondary growth. So this was about the bark that is formed due to the activity of the cork cambium. So next, moving on to the lenticels. So at certain regions of the phellogen, so what is a phellogen? It is nothing but the cork cambium. So at certain regions on the stem, wherever there is the phellogen being present, I told you there is presence of the parenchymatous cells. So if you remember, I had told you that there is formation of the cells of the secondary cortex are nothing but parenchymatous. So once the secondary cortex is formed, at certain region of the secondary cortex, wherever there is parenchymatous cells on the outer side instead of the cork cells, so what happens here is these parenchymatous cells, they will rupture the epidermis. Why? Because the pressure is being created. So they will rupture the epidermis and they will form lens-shaped openings called as the lenticels. So these are the lenticels, that is the epidermis region will actually rupture. So once the epidermal region will rupture, there are lens-shaped cells being formed there. So therefore they are called as the lenticels. So what happened? The cork cambium, it produced the secondary cortex, right? So as the secondary cortex develops, because of the pressure that is being created, there is no space for the cells to accumulate. So therefore what happens, the epidermis will just break open, or it will just split open. So once the epidermis ruptures or it split opens, in that particular region, from that particular openings, lens shaped cells start to develop, or lens shaped openings will start to develop. That particular region is called as the lenticels. So lenticels are also have a similar function to that of the stomata, but stomata, they are usually present in the leaves, but in the case of bark or woody stems, we have lenticels, which actually helps in the exchange of gases between the outer atmosphere and the plant or the innermost tissue of the stem, and also they are usually seen in the woody trees. So this is about the lenticels. So next, moving on to the secondary growth in roots. So usually the secondary growths are seen in the dicot stem and the dicot root. So now talking about the secondary growth in roots. So in the dicot root, actually the vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin. So here the vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin, and from where does it originate? It originates from the tissues that are located just below the phloem bundles. So here what happens here is, as you can see, we have the plant tissues wherein the epidermal tissue is present, that is the epidermis. After the epidermis comes the cortex region. In the cortex region, after the cortex region comes the innermost covering, that is the endodermis. Below the endodermis is present the pericycle. After the pericycle, we have the vascular bundles, that is the, so you know that in the roots, the vascular bundles, that is the phloem and the xylem, are situated separately. We have one patch of xylem and one more patch of phloem, again a patch of xylem, again a patch of phloem. So we have the primary phloem, then comes the primary xylem. So here xylem, unlike the dicot stem wherein the cambium was formed between the xylem and the phloem, it is not like that in the case of root, that is the dicot root. In the dicot root, the formation of the cambium is below the primary phloem. So here in the dicot root, the vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin, and the vascular cambium forms from the tissues that are located just below the phloem bundles. So here what happens here is, a portion of the pericycle that is present above the protoxylem, it forms a complete and a continuous wavy ring which later becomes circular. So here, as you can see, we have the epidermis, then comes the cortex, then the endodermis, so the pericycle and the primary phloem and the secondary phloem. So here the primary phloem is there. So down the primary phloem, what happens? Here that the cells that are present below the primary phloem will actually develop into the cambial ring. If it has to develop into a cambial ring, what happens here is, sometimes a portion of the pericycle tissue that is being present above the protoxylem, it also starts to form a continuous ring. So along with the formation of the cambium ring, the pericycle will also starts to form a continuous ring. So here, this is also one of the characteristic here. So first the cambial ring is formed, after that the pericycle also starts to form a complete ring, and therefore it becomes a complete wavy circle in the case of the root. And further, further events are almost similar to that of the dicotyledonous stem. So in the dicotyledonous stem, how we studied the secondary growth, almost the events are almost similar. But here what the major difference in the case of secondary growth in roots is that it originates only from the tissues that are located below the primary phloem. So the primary phloem's few cells will develop into the cambium ring, and these cambial ring, further it will form the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem, and whatever events that took place in the dicot stem, it is almost similar to that in the root as well. Only difference was with the cells that are involved in the formation of the cambium. That is, here only the phloem is involved in the formation of the cambium, but there the cambium was formed between the xylem as well as between the phloem, but here it is formed only between the phloem. So this is about the secondary growth in the case of roots. So I hope you understood today's session well. So we had discussed completely on the secondary growth. So after the primary formation of the primary xylem and the primary phloem, it is a time for the xylem to enter into the formation of the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem. So it is the vascular cambium and the cambial ring that actually helps in the secondary growth in a plant. Apart from that, even in the root also the secondary growth is seen. So you have understood what is the major difference in the formation of the cambium ring when it comes to the secondary growth in the dicot stem and the secondary growth in the dicot root. So I hope you understood today's session well. We shall meet again in the coming session wherein we will be discussing about a new chapter, that is structural organization in animals. So we shall meet then. Thank you.